heard a story about my dad, about his time in Afghanistan.
It was war.
War crime, more like. Just got me wondering, what other secrets does he have?
You really want to know? Bosch has crossed a lot of lines in his long and checkered career.
But murder? You honestly think he would set up a prison hit?
To murder the scumbag who abducted Madeline Bosch.
If it was my daughter, I'd skin him alive.
Justice will be done.
One way or another.
How are things in Old Blighty right now?
Pretty good, sir. Pretty good. Nice and sunny, actually. It's been about sort of 18, 19 degrees. And for this time of year, that's a win. So how are you doing?
I'm well. I always get confused because we measure temperature differently. But my wife is English, so she's always saying, "Oh, it's going to be 18 degrees," and I go, "Okay, just okay." I have to recalculate and recalibrate. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
Likewise, sir. So, first of all, congratulations on the show. I'm 6 episodes deep at the moment, and it's absolutely cracking. As always, one of the things that I think is superb about the series is its consistency. Now, my first question is in relation to Harry and the fact that you've been playing him for around about a decade. Are there any sort of habits or vices of Harry's that you've maybe picked up on set because you've been doing it so long and you've maybe found a little difficult to kind of shake off?
Well, I'm not one of those actors that carries my work home, but definitely when you play or inhabit a character for as long as I have with Harry, things cross over. There's certainly, and this was brought to my attention by my family when they've watched the shows, there's been certain facial expressions and I guess tells or ticks of my own that inadvertently crept their way into Harry, which of course it made me immediately terribly self-conscious because the idea is that you want to sort of disappear into a character. But then I thought, well, no, actually, you know what? That being said, it kind of works. So there's a certain, if someone's lying to Harry or they're irritating him or something, or something's escalating, he tends to cock his head to in a certain direction. And my kids were the first ones to kind of bring that to my attention. They go, "Oh yeah, when that happens, that means that it's all gonna go piton, right?" And yeah, so there's definitely that aspect. I mean, but more than anything is just missing, as I would say, slipping into Harry's moccasins for me was always a tremendous pleasure because I love that character so very much.
Yeah, and thinking of very specifically about Harry, is there any kind of scene or maybe like particular story that you think perfectly sums him up as a character?
Well, I think that the relationship between Harry and Maddie allowed the writers and allowed me to unfold certain layers of the character and expose certain vulnerabilities, which, because he's not an emotionally demonstrative character, he's a very internalized guy and very hard to read. That has been really some of the more interesting things. Obviously, confronting his mother's killer finally, and how the progression of that investigation, and then that moment where he's there and the decision. He has a gun against his head, and what he wants is the truth. But the question also arises in that moment: is he going to kill him? Understandably, I don't think anyone would fault him if he was to do that, and yet because we know the moral compass and the fabric of this man, but there's an underlying unpredictability about Harry, which I think is what's made him a compelling and interesting character for people to not only read the books but to see on the show.
Yeah, and fans of Bosch, like me, again, are still hungry for more. And with Maggie Q's character Ballard coming into the mix in the final episode of Legacy, acting as a crossover, can we expect to see an occasional guest appearance from you in the future on that show? And has there been any talk of a potential movie? Given the wealth of the source material, is that something you'd be up for?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you never know how things are, right? And I think if anything, what we were able to do in the 10th episode where Ballard comes in, played brilliantly by Maggie Q. I mean, she absolutely owns the character. So the people who read the books and are aware of that relationship between Bosch and Ballard, um, they will be very excited to see that character so perfectly realized. Um, but no, it would certainly be nothing would make me happier than to continue to play this character in whatever way that manifests. Certainly things are always kind of bandied about. Um, and I'm never one to. I've been doing this long enough to know that until you sign on the dotted line, nothing. And it's senseless to kind of extrapolate and well, maybe this or that. But as far as my willingness to do that, it's my commitment is eternal, for this character.
That's pretty understandable because, as you say, he's a wonderfully complicated character. It's just there's so much to kind of explore with him. So that's nice to hear. Anyway, so I'm myself and many
Yeah.
others are going to be keeping our fingers crossed for you, sir. So,
Okay.
TV requires obviously some long hours in terms of sort of being on set, and given that you've spent sort of 10 years or so working together with probably the same sort of crew
Yeah.
and predominantly the same cast as well, how does that change the shooting environment for you? Is it more of a familial bond on set with that familiarity, and it makes things a little easier, under trying circumstances?
100%, because typically I think it's with all things. Now, if you're a guest on something episodically, you're kind of it's more like going to a drinks or dinner party at someone's house. You get to know people to a certain degree, but the bond that we had across the board from the producers, the writers, actors, and the crew, very familiar. I mean, you learn each other's rhythms. Everybody knows how each other works, and there's a certain pace that's there. And I'm not going to say that it's effortless because it's not. I mean, it's a tremendous amount of work, very, very long hours, and starting extremely early in the morning. I would be going to work when they were delivering the bread and the milk and the like. But when you are working with such a tremendous group of people and it's truly a creative collaboration, you don't think about that. I mean, there's the nanosecond where you go, oh, you know, bloody hell, it's literally you know half past 3 in the AM, and you're pulling it together, and then I would arrive on set and that just dissipates because you've got work to do, and that the reward is going to be that you get to work with these people and you create something that is that you're very proud of.
Hmm. Speaking of sharing, these experiences and time with these people, I think it would be remiss if we don't mention the wonderful Lance Reddick, who you worked with, through obviously Bosch, very sadly gone now, back in 2023. What sort of memories do you have of him and working with him?
That was That was a relationship that spanned over 25 years. It wasn't just Bosch. I mean, we'd known each other for a very, very long time. I didn't consider him a friend. I considered him like a sibling, like a brother. He was inordinately kind and enormously generous artist, and not only a brilliant actor, but a brilliant composer and someone who loved art. But his generosity of spirit, his generosity as an actor, I treasure those memories. It's still, um, it's a bit difficult for me to talk about Lance in the past tense because he was, we were so close, but
Mm.
working together was pure joy, and we both worked the same way, and we always found a way to kind of, I think, as great as the material was that we were working from, we found a way to elevate it to a certain degree. Um, and it was tremendous fun. It was just, and something that, because people, because of Lance's physicality, it's very tall, very strikingly handsome, and but also very intense aura
Yeah.
about him. What people don't know is that they would say, "Oh, I'd love to talk to him, but he's very," and I'd say, "Well, just go talk to him." He was hilariously funny, and also an enormous comic book, sci-fi nerd. I
Yeah.
mean, our conversations, yes, did we discuss art and music and film and things, and we'd have those conversations, but I would say 90% of the conversations that we would have offset before going into work, a hair and makeup trailer, we were talking about comic books, and I remember more than one occasion, Jamie Hector would be there as well,
Yeah.
getting his makeup on, and he would laugh at us, and he would just say, you guys are talking about Spider-Man and Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu, as if they're real people, to which we would just always say, but they are. But
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so and the work that we got to do together will always be there. And so it's in some ways it's it was very difficult after Lance passed, because I would always sort of rewire my brain before starting the next season. I would go back and I would rewatch the previous season just to get myself up. And it was inordinately difficult for me to watch the scenes, um, whether they were together or just his presence on the screen. Very, very hard. I find it a bit easier, but still extremely difficult.
Well, bless you, Titus, and thank you so much for sharing that as well. That's our time up. I could carry on talking to you for hours, sir, but unfortunately we've got to go. So thank you so much. And as Harry would say, stay safe, brother.
You too, brother. Thank you. It's a pleasure talking to you.
What if someone might be crossing a line? Would I have to rat them out?
You have to decide how much of the gray you're willing to live in.